Good evening. You know what really grinds my gears? I didn't know until this evening that there were four, count 'em, well, not five, four seasons of Skinwalker Ranch that that are out. And I blame Netflix for only letting me know about the first season, and I went all that time just kind of wondering, and no, I ran across, there was like an ad that I saw, and it was advertising, I guess, the current season or whatever. Anyway, it made me realize there were four seasons. So anyway, just spent the last hour and a half or so binging season 2 on the History Channel website. And then, I'll have to see what I can do about season 3 and season 4 since I don't have a History Channel subscription. But I'm pretty resourceful. Anyway, aside from that nonsense, I was kind of, I watched the EcoFlow event today. I was kind of disappointed unless I missed something somewhere. The presentation I watched basically just talked about their current systems that they have, and the, newer type of home solutions that they have of their products. They didn't really go over the different items that they more or less debuted. Of course, the robot lawnmower was one. And then they debuted, and I was correct with what I read. They have a second edition of the Wave that is going to come out. And it not only has air conditioning, but it also has a heat pump. And so I was wondering how they did that, because I was thinking, if that's just a coil resistance type of heater, man, that's gonna zap that battery so quick. But no, they built a portable heat pump, and so that ought to be pretty cool. I'm anxious to see how that works. It's not an item that I would be able to afford, I'm sure, but I'll be anxious to see how that the Wave 2, I believe, is what they're calling it. I'll be anxious to see how that works. They also came out with a product called and I believe it's called a Glacier, and it's a completely self-powered cooler, essentially. There's all kinds of portable coolers out there that you can plug in. Many of them, use low amounts of energy, or relatively low amounts of energy, and but most of them out there, possibly all of them, I don't know, you have to plug into something. You have to have a separate battery to plug into. I don't know if there's any out there that's got self-contained batteries that are rechargeable or not, because I don't know the market. However, the EcoFlow Glacier will be able to be self-powered. It's got a built-in battery pack. It also has the ability to make ice, and I forget what the time was on it. It was an insanely fast amount of time for that thing to start kicking out ice cubes. So that's pretty cool. So that's the products that they debuted at the Consumer Electronics Show. But like I said, the live stream presentation, at least the one I saw, didn't talk about any one of the three products. It just talked about their current line of smart home products when it comes to power. So anyway, other than that, double check to where I might even shut that thing off. Man, I'm telling you what, I'm starting to kind of roast. It's on 1.7. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna power it down for a little bit. I I was sitting here and it's like, damn, I'm starting to roast. 36 degrees outside. The lowest that this thing can go is 1.6, and I have it on 1.7, and it's roasting us out of here. So I'm just going to shut it off for a little bit. Now, once you break through that 30-degree mark, it takes a little bit more to keep things warm. But, man, you stay above 35 degrees, and it doesn't take much at all as far as that thing running. And it's enough to heat this place. That is so incredible. By the way, speaking of that, today I actually went out and looked at the meter. And what I did, we got probably another, I'm guessing, between 2 and 4 days that we'll have on this billing cycle. I don't know what day they're actually going to take the reading. But I went out today and I got the numbers myself, and I, looked at last month's final reading number, and I'll tell you what, it's gonna be in that ballpark. My dream just might have had some meat to it, so it's going to be right in there because we compared the consumption that we've used, a little bit more tacked on since there's a little more days left. And it's going to be right around. I said that dream that Jen told me that the power bill was going to be, I think it was 283 something or 284 something, but I'm not real firm on either of those, so I'm just going to say 280 something because I can't remember exactly what the number was in the dream. But I'm real interested to see if that's what it turns out to be because, well... Anyway, we'll know soon enough. Probably about, maybe close to a couple of weeks. Week and a half, 2 weeks. Then we'll know. Anyway. I'm trying to think. Anything else? No, I think that's all the stuff I had. The news... While there wasn't tons and tons of it, I don't know. I would call it significant. One of the things that I think is insane is that I tweeted that out too. I was going to swap out one of the articles that I've got that I want to talk about because I've got a more recent. Oop! I didn't want the picture. I've got a more recent article here that I would rather use. Wait a minute. One second. There we go. Okay. Sorry. Do I got two? Yeah, I do. Because I'm a tard. There we go. No, I'm in there. It's all good now. Anyway, there wasn't anything super massive. I think it's hilarious what is going on in the house right now. That is some good stuff, but it's probably just another distraction. So I'm not going to put any weight into any of it. I do have quite a few tabs open today, 5-9, so I'm going to jump right on into it. Man. Okay. Civilians killed. I was off by a day. Let's see, the night before last, when I thought maybe they were going to reach out and touch Russia again, they actually, as far as I know, didn't. However, last night, they did. Now, this is going to follow kind of a crazy chain of back and forth here, so I'm going to start here. Civilians killed in Ukrainian HIMARS missile attack, says officials. Says Ukrainian troops have shelled a residential area in the city of Vasilyevka in Russia's newly incorporated Zaporozhye region, killing 6 people and injuring 37, the acting governor, Yevgeny Belitsky, said on Wednesday. He added that 3 first responders were among the wounded, one of whom is in critical condition. The situation in Vasilyevka is tense. The shelling does not stop. All emergency services are working to help people, Belitsky wrote on his Telegram channel. He also shared photos of destroyed buildings and damaged vehicles on the city's streets. Vladimir Rogov, a senior regional official, said that Ukrainian forces had hit an apartment block near a building that houses the city's military administration. He explained that locals were lining up outside the building to receive documents for their cars when the strike hit. Rogov claimed on Telegram that Kiev had used U.S.-supplied M142 HIMARS multiple rocket launcher to carry out the attack. Natalia Romanchenko, the mayor of Vasilyevka, a city of roughly 13,000 people, urged residents to stay off the streets and seek shelter. The latest news comes after local authorities reported that the Ukrainian armed forces destroyed a hospital in the city of Tokmak on Tuesday. Moscow has repeatedly accused Ukraine of using HIMARS and other Western-made weapons to target civilians. And we're going to be sending more stuff over there, apparently. So this happened last night. The Russian Orthodox Church had called for a truce, and Putin echoed that call. He announced a Christmas truce. And here it says President Vladimir Putin has ordered the Russian military to impose a cessation in hostilities in Ukraine. Hours earlier, primate of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill, had called on both sides of the conflict to cease hostilities in the run-up to and during the Orthodox Christmas holiday. According to the Kremlin, the truce is to last from noon local time on Friday, January 6, until midnight on Saturday, January 7. Judging by the fact that a lot of citizens who practice the Orthodox religion live in the embattled area, we call upon the Ukrainian side to proclaim a cessation of hostilities and give them the opportunity to attend services on Christmas Eve and on Christmas Day, a Kremlin statement reads. And I'm just going to stop reading there because I've got other articles related to this. So, the Orthodox Church asked for a truce. Putin echoed that sentiment and asked for a truce. And Ukraine rejects the truce. Just insane. I've even got another couple more to do with this article. It's crazy. It says here, Kiev is not interested in the cessation of hostilities that Russian President Vladimir Putin announced earlier on Thursday. The rejection was confirmed by top officials in Ukraine. There can be a temporary truce only when Russia leaves occupied territories. Mikhail Podolyak, an advisor to Zelensky, wrote on Twitter, "Keep hypocrisy to yourself," he added. I don't know if that's Podolyak. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. Anyway, also denounced the Russian Orthodox Church as being a war propagandist that called for the genocide of Ukrainians, describing its statement about a Christmas truce as a cynical trap and an element of propaganda. A ceasefire, lies, and hypocrisy. We will bite you in the singing silence of the Ukrainian night, wrote Alexei Danilov, the head of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine. The proposed truce cannot and should not be taken seriously, tweeted Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba. Most Orthodox churches, including those in Russia and Ukraine, use some version of the Julian calendar for liturgical services, so Christmas Day falls on January 7th by the Gregorian calendar. His Holiness Patriarch Kirill of Moscow and all Russia had called for a 36-hour ceasefire starting at noon Friday. So this was said by the advisor to Zelensky. Then Zelensky chimes in. This here says Ukrainian President Vladimir, sorry, I can't speak. Let me have some coffee. 1 second. Okay. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said on Thursday that the Christmas cessation of hostilities offered by Russia was merely a ruse to improve Moscow's standing on the battlefield, calling on Russians to overthrow their government instead. In a video message to Ukrainians, Zelensky said he had offered a peace plan to Moscow in December, starting with the withdrawal of all Russian troops from territories claimed by Kiev on Christmas. Now they want to use Christmas as cover to stop the advance of our boys in Donbass for a bit and bring up their equipment, ammunition, and mobilize troops to the front, Zelensky said, claiming this will only result in more Russian casualties. Kiev's troops have made no advances in Donbass for the past several weeks. The few reports coming out of the embattled city of Bakhmut and Artyomov, I can't say that, hell, speak of high casualties among Ukrainian soldiers. Everyone in the world knows how the Kremlin uses ceasefires to continue the war with renewed vigor, Zelensky said in the video message. What is needed for the conflict to end, he argued, is to overthrow President Vladimir Putin. So, and then the rest just repeats what all has already been said. This is just insane. I don't think Putin's got an issue moving his troops forward if he so chooses. I really don't think he's got much of an issue doing that if that's what his goal was. I don't know. I do think it's not that I trust Putin or anything like that, but I do think that he was being sincere in this. Now, with all these statements going around, I would say that we could probably expect some craziness coming out of Ukraine. And I'll tell you what, it's just my opinion. For instance, if Ukraine makes a few nasty hits, especially on their Christmas, what they celebrate Christmas on, I think that's really gonna cause a major escalation with Putin, and I think Putin's gonna take some serious shots. And I'm the odd thing is I'm so surprised that he hasn't to this point. He's had cause. I mean, he's at war with them. So now I could see where it really wouldn't look good if he brought the full weight of the bear down on them at one time. That's what I'm saying. You've got Ukraine, and Ukraine only has so much border. And you've got Russia, which is far better equipped with much more people. And I'm just at a loss as to what I'm supposed to be believing, to be honest. I don't know. It just seemed a little shady to me, the whole damn thing. And probably the biggest reason why I say that is because even on Putin's side, he's dragging it out. You know, he's had cause. He's had the reason that he needs to put his foot down, to put the bear's foot down, but he still chooses not to. And I don't think this is just a matter of Putin playing cat and mouse or some type of nonsense like that. I think all this crap's been discussed and decided behind closed doors long ago. That's really where I still stand on this. I think the whole damn thing is a ruse. Right? You know, they got to get us begging for that one world rule, the one world currency, the equality and the peace and the, you know. DPR comments on Christmas truce. Donetsk People's Republic troops will not undertake any offensive actions, but will respond to any enemy provocation, the Russian region acting head Denis Pushilin said on Thursday. He added that the cessation of hostilities on Christmas Eve, announced by President Vladimir Putin, applies to the Orthodox faithful, which he doesn't consider the leadership in Kiev to be. The decision of our president as an Orthodox man applies precisely to Orthodox people for whom it is important to go to church, to attend the service on the feast of the Nativity of Christ, Pushilin said in a statement posted on Telegram. For obvious reasons, we do not consider the leadership of Rump, Ukraine, to be Orthodox. Therefore, he added, the Kremlin's orders apply to initiating fire or taking offensive actions, but not to self-defense responding to provocations or allowing the enemy any chance to use the holiday hours to improve its positions along the line of contact. Citing a request from Patriarch Kirill, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Putin on Thursday ordered the Russian military to observe a 36-hour cessation of hostilities starting at noon local time on Friday. I'm reading all the stuff I covered a while ago. Let's see. Now we're hearing about more vehicles. I mean, this is insane. It's like everybody's kind of stepping up what they're sending to them. U.S. and Germany confirm new heavy weaponry for Ukraine. Remember yesterday we talked about the U.S. and France. That France had that AMX-10 or whatever it is that they were going to be sending them. There's no confirmation yet that the U.S. is going to be sending Bradley fighting vehicles that I know. But apparently that's what the suspicion is. And then now Germany, I'll read the article here. It says U.S. President Joe Biden and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz have confirmed reports that they will donate infantry fighting vehicles to Ukraine. The news comes a day after France announced it would send Western-designed light tanks to Kiev. According to a joint statement released by the White House and German Chancellery on Thursday evening, the United States intends to supply Ukraine with Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, and Germany intends to provide Ukraine with Marder infantry fighting vehicles. Both countries plan to train Ukrainian forces on the respective systems, the statement continued. It remains unclear how many of each type of vehicle will be sent to Ukraine and when they will be delivered. Earlier on Thursday, Germany's Süddeutsche Zeitung newspaper, I know I got that way wrong, reported that such an announcement was imminent and that Berlin's decision to ship the martyrs to Ukraine had been made in coordination with the U.S. and France. So, and I'm assuming from the way this article's worded that it's now a more or less a done deal about the U.S. vehicles going. So, anyway, thankfully, we can shut the hell up about that stuff for a moment. I have a vape, and we'll talk about a few other things. Oh man. Fun times. Like I say, just use every bit of time you can. Put back as much as you can. Those potato shreds on Amazon, still $18 a can currently. I don't see them going down at all. However, they do have potato slices, Augustin Farm potato slices, for $9.99 a can. So, if you're in the market for some carbs, there you go. Trying to think of anything other than that. Can't think of anything. I went ahead and pulled up this article. I initially had a different article, but this one was more updated. So, McCarthy fails for third long day in GOP House Speaker fight. This is, I think it's kind of funny. For a long and frustrating third day, divided Republicans kept the Speaker's chair of the U.S. House sitting empty Thursday as party leader Kevin McCarthy failed again and again in an excruciating string of ballots to win enough GOP votes to seize the chamber's gavel. Pressure was building as McCarthy lost 7th, 8th, and then historic 9th, 10th, and 11th rounds of voting, surpassing the number 100 years ago in a prolonged fight to choose a speaker in a disputed election. By nightfall, despite raucous protests from Democrats, Republicans voted to adjourn and return Friday to try again. With McCarthy's supporters and foes locked in stalemate, the House, you know what, they just need to bring out the cage, right? Make it a cage match, come on. With McCarthy's supporters and foes locked in stalemate, the House could not formally open for the new session of Congress, and feelings of boredom, desperation, and annoyance seemed increasingly evident. And nobody's taken a punch yet. One McCarthy critic, Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida, this was funny, cast votes for Donald Trump, a symbolic but pointed sign of the broad divisions over the Republican Party's future. Then he went further, moving the day from protests toward the absurd informally nominating the former president to be House Speaker on the 11th ballot. Trump got one vote from Gaetz, drawing laughter. As night fell before the second anniversary of the January 6, 2021 attack. Notice how they keep changing what they call it. On the Capitol by Trump supporters trying to overturn, and they weren't trying to overturn the election. This is the part I don't get. Democrats said it was time to get serious. The sacred House of Representatives, well, we need a full stop right there. Sacred House of Representatives? You mean that big shit pile? Yeah, that's not no sacred house, not anymore. They think it needs a leader. I would agree, but I don't think there's one among you. So, anyway, that's what Democrat Joe Nagase, or I don't know how you say his name, of Colorado, nominating his own party's leader, Hakeem Jeffries, as Speaker. McCarthy could be seen talking one-on-one in whispered and animated conversations in the House chamber. His emissaries sidled up to holdouts, and grueling negotiations proceeded in the GOP whip's office down the hall. McCarthy remained determined to persuade Republicans to end the paralyzing debate that has blighted his new GOP majority. McCarthy's leadership team had presented a core group of the Republican holdouts with a deal on paper for rules changes in exchange for their support, said one of the opponents, conservative Republican Ralph Norman of South Carolina, as he exited a late-day meeting and included mandating 72 hours for bills to be posted before votes, among others, though details were scarce. Lest hopes ahead of reality, he added. This is round one. So, anyway, tune in tomorrow for more Comedy Central from the U.S. House. Yeah, I think it's crazy, but you know what? I think it's good. I really do think it's a good thing that's going on, because it's a shake up and a wake up, and I don't think it's going to lead to anything. I think at best it's just another distraction. But you know, the only hope is if the people take the initiative to make the government accountable. I mean, plain and simple. That's the only thing that's going to fix it. Oh, I did close that one. Next, about inflation. The next two articles are about the economy. Fun times, right? IMF issues call on U.S. inflation. Inflation in the U.S. has not subsided sufficiently enough to abandon last year's restrictive monetary policy. I don't know if that's Gita or Gita Gopinath, and the deputy head of the International Monetary Fund, has told the Financial Times. According to Gopinath, it is important for the U.S. Federal Reserve, which acts as the country's central bank, to stay the course in efforts to lower prices until there was a very definite, durable decline in inflation across the sectors not related to either food or energy. If you see the indicators in the labor market, and if you look at very sticky components of inflation, like services inflation, I think it's clear that we haven't turned the corner yet on inflation, she told the news outlet, adding that there is also a very narrow path for the country to avoid a recession in the coming months. I just don't get how they're even remotely allowed to use the language that they're using. We have been in a recession for quite a while now, and we are sliding ever so close to a depression, and a million other things to do with the economy, like the currency. We're in for a hell of a ride, and they're still not even coming close to telling you how serious the situation is. They're too busy changing the rules on what's considered what, and just playing government games. And that's what I'm saying. All this crap going on in the House, it's pointless. It's meaningless. It's not going to do anything about the stuff that matters. Just not. But, you know, bread and circuses, if they can entertain the people for a little while and keep the people coming to cast that ballot because we'll get it this time, then they ain't got nothing to worry about. Hey, it's worked for decades. Why won't it work for more? It's crazy. It says here, Gopinath's comments come as U.S. inflation figures have started to subside in the past couple of months, leading analysts to suggest the price surge may have passed its peak. Prices in the country rose by 7.1% year-on-year in November, for instance, compared with 7.7% in October, according to the U.S. Labor Department. On December 14th, In its most recent attempt to rein in inflation, the Fed hiked the key interest rate by 50 basis points, up to 4.25% to 4.5%. According to the Gopinath, the regulator may need to raise the rate to about 5% to keep it there throughout the year, in order to avoid further price increases. It's another challenging year for monetary policy, but it's a different kind of challenge. The last year was about quickly tightening monetary policy and how far to go. Now, for lots of countries, the question is how long to stay on hold, she noted. Gopinath also warned that Europe may take longer than the U.S. to battle rising prices, saying that we are looking well into 2024 before we start seeing inflation coming closer to the ECB's 2% target. So, and then of course, that's not considering a ton of factors and everything, like fuel and food. Notice how they keep throwing that in and out at will. Amazon to boot thousands of workers, says a CEO. I am not surprised. I think, I think this is going to be a downhill slope. I think that it's going to affect everything from retail to shipping. I think you're going to see major layoffs coming at all the carriers, UPS, FedEx. I think you're going to see a lot of layoffs. Possibly the end of some of these companies, and most certainly, I think you're going to see much different services, packages, whatever you want to call them, offered. I think we're nearing the end of all the cheap advantages that we've had. I guess is about the only way to say it. What I'm talking about is Americans for quite some time have had inexpensive options, usually multiple inexpensive options for almost anything, whether it be buying products from different retailers, whether it be shipping to ship an item. You've had competition to work with, and because of the amount of volume that these companies have had to work with, they could give really good rates. Well, once you start removing some of that volume, and they aren't making as much money, say, per load, they're either going to be raising prices, they're going to be cutting services, they're going to be doing something to try to stay afloat. Got to remember, the companies are already going to be battling the loss of business. So, with juggling all those things, it's going to wind up a loss of workers, a loss of services, and in some cases, loss of companies. And I think it's going to be a downhill snowball that's going to turn into an avalanche. So we'll see. We'll see. But that is what I see happening. See what this article here says. It says U.S. e-commerce giant Amazon will fire over 18,000 employees in the coming weeks, CEO Andy Jassy announced in a message to employees on Amazon's website on Thursday. According to Jassy, the difficult decision was made as part of planning for 2023 amid an uncertain economy and aims to help pursue our long-term opportunities with a stronger cost structure. We plan to eliminate just over 18,000 roles. Several teams are impacted. However, the majority of the role eliminations are in our Amazon stores and PXT organizations. Jassy said the company will start notifying impacted employees of their layoffs on January 18. The firings will largely impact the company's e-commerce and human resources divisions, he added. Amazon began its layoffs in November, with reports at the time claiming that the company planned to let around 10,000 employees go However, as Jassy explained, after further assessment of the economic conditions, it became apparent that more layoffs will be needed to keep the company afloat amid a drop in consumer demand and a shift back to in-person shopping among the public. So, he's more or less repeating what I just said a while ago before I even started reading the article. Amazon's workforce nearly doubled over the past 2 years due to soaring demand for online services amid the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the company's revenue growth slowed once the pandemic restrictions were lifted. In October, the online retailer reported flat earnings, falling short of the revenue expectations. According to the Wall Street Journal, Amazon has more than 1.5 million workers, including warehouse staff. The company plans to pay severance to those who are laid off and provide transitional health insurance benefits and external job placement support. Amazon has weathered uncertain and difficult economies in the past, and we will continue to do so. I'm optimistic that we'll be inventive, resourceful, and scrappy in this time when we're not hiring expansively and eliminating some roles. Companies that last a long time go through different phases. They're not in heavy people expansion mode every year, Jassy said. I think there's a lot of companies that are going to be hurting. I think Amazon sees the writing on the wall soon enough, and they're adjusting as quickly as possible. And I think you're going to see all the other companies doing the same. This ain't about people going back to the store shopping. That there was that, absolutely. But there are still a hell of a lot more people that are adding to the cart online than adding to the cart in the store. Because a lot of times it's the ease. A lot of people have learned the benefits, the advantages to ordering online. Like, you have a much wider selection. If I go to Amazon and I'm looking for product X, right, I can look at all the different companies that are represented on Amazon. And that would be whether Amazon sells it directly or whether or not third-party sellers and shippers provide the items. Either way, I've got a large range. Now, I could do the same on Walmart's website. They do the very same things. Absolutely could do the same thing on Walmart's website. But what I can't do is go in store to the Walmart, to the local Walmart, and see all those items, see all of those products in front of me and be able to take one home. So the moment that I decide to shop in person in store, I'm automatically limiting my choices. And I think a lot of people caught on to that. I think a lot of people also caught on to finding better deals online versus going into a brick and mortar store. There is not the numbers to provide proof that many people, after the restrictions lifted, had went back to brick and mortar shopping. Where are the numbers? They didn't have in-store numbers. If you recall, Black Friday, they were all talking about how there wasn't that many people. And what was it they said? Oh, they said that was because everybody was doing online shopping. Now, they're trying to tell you, nobody's really doing online shopping as much. They're more going in person in the store. Not true. They're trying to cover up what's going on. The Economic Ninja put out a video today talking about the Baltic Dry Index. And that's something that I've been watching for years. It's just something I keep glancing on, Baltic Dry Index is raw goods, right? So you get X product from A company, right? Well, A company needs these certain raw goods in order to provide their product. Those raw goods are part of what they call the Baltic Dry Index. They're the raw goods that are used to make products. That is in a major slump. That's a tell-all. You don't fake the Baltic Dry Index. So it's a certain tell-all when it comes to the economy. And that's why I've always kind of kept an eye on it. But he did a video about it today, and I would recommend you go watch his video. Anyway, we are hurting. We are hurting. We're not the only country. The globe is hurting. And it's not by chance. That's why I'm saying I don't buy all this stuff that's going on as being organic. I think it's orchestrated to get all the different people of all the different nations to be in agreement, to accept their new world order, just as long as it'll bring peace, stability, and security in our lives. So, but they got to put enough of us in a bad way to accept that, and I think that's what their intention is. And I'm not the only one that thought that. It seems like there's this book that talks about it too, but kind of a popular book. All right, let me have another couple of sips of coffee here. Oh, a couple of vapes. I didn't say that, but the whole contract thing. Coffee's tasting good. Fun times. I still got the heat on. Oh, actually, I'm gonna turn the heat on. You guys might actually hear it. Because it gets a little gangster when it's starting up. I think it started. Thought I heard it in there. I've got headphones on, so I'm not 100% positive, but I swear the remote here still says standby, so hang on. Come on, connect, you dumb thing. I think I hear it. I think this is being messed up. Nah. Oh, it connected. Yep, it's on. Good deal. Sorry. That remote did that one other time. It's like it disconnects from the controller. Alright, let's read through these headlines and then get the hell out of here for the rest of the week. A U.S. First Lady plans surgery after cancer screening. Sanctions cost Russia's richest billions, says Bloomberg. U.S. House stuck in limbo. We talked about that. Economists issue grim 2023 forecast. I'm not sure if that's the one we talked about. Iran summons French ambassador over disgusting cartoons. Japan comments on even stronger alliance with the U.S. Ukraine warns Germany of Russians outside of Berlin. Covered that and that. EU state breaks ranks on Russian assets. Moscow warns of retaliation if Germany goes through with asset seizure. Let's see. U.S. won't fill Ukrainian request, says Washington Post. And what that was a request for Abrams tanks. So, in other words, with them making this announcement that they're not going to fulfill the Ukrainian request for the Abrams tanks, what they're really saying, let me government explain this to you. What they're really saying is that's what they're going to start giving them next, okay? So I've really caught on to this now, They'll tell you that we're not going to send them this, and then they send them that. So you just watch. Within 2-3 weeks, they're going to be sending them Abrams tanks. Just watch. Oh, I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's in there running like a crazy fool. I turned the mic way up. Anyway, it'll summer down and now in a moment. And if you haven't saw that episode of Saturday Night Live, you have not lived. So, summer down and now. Let's see. Have you seen it? Huh? Summer down and now. Oh gosh, that was like 80s or something, I think. Maybe late 80s, early 90s or something. Summer down and now. Oh my goodness, you gotta look it up. If you haven't seen it, you have to look it up. Just think of Donna Summer and reverse the name. Summer Donna now. And that is, just trust me. It's just make sure you pee before you watch it. It's as good, and this one's probably more well known. The whole, he passed away now, the heavyset comedian, Chris Farley. When he did the whole living in a van down by the river bit, that one's a little bit more well known than the Summer Donna now. But, yeah, those are good times. Those were good times. Anyway, back to the news. Certainly don't want to offend anybody, especially Donna Summer fans. Are there such things still as Donna Summer fans? Huh? I don't know. Summer Donna now. Okay, topics of Putin Erdogan phone call revealed. It's like a 900 number call. So, let's see. IMF gives opinion on... Oh, I did read that one. Putin, I talked about the truce. Taiwan cracks alleged Chinese spy ring, says media. Now, I don't know when they say that. I don't know if they mean that they receive, the Cracker Jack box and it's got the little spy ring decoder in there. That might be what they're talking about. Editor-in-chief of Russian news outlet arrested in Latvia. CNN hires Never Trumper. U.S. keeping with best tradition of Nazis, says ex-Russian president. Arrest of Russian outlets journalist is blow to press freedom, says Moscow. Musk picks side in House Speaker showdown. Hong Kong drops controversial pet ban. Let's see. U.S. and Germany preparing new step in arms for Ukraine, which you heard about that step. France seeks to maintain contact with Russia, says Foreign Minister. We talked about that and that. Cartel leader killed after brazen prison escape. I talked about that. Zelensky, I covered that and that. Let's see. U.S. disbands mission probing Ukraine POW camp shelling. Army battles cartels for El Chapo's heir. Ukraine pressures Israel to take right side. Wonder how that's going to work. And we covered that. And there is a number one up there. Let's see what it is. Pentagon touts tank killers for Ukraine. Hang on. Let me tweet it out here. U.S. government is set to supply Ukraine with a number of armored personnel carriers in an upcoming aid package described as tank killers by a senior military official. The move follows reports that Washington is still refusing to consider heavier armor for Kiev, despite its repeated request for the Abrams main battle tank. Again, wait 2-3 weeks. Chief Pentagon spokesman Pat Ryder announced the latest aid on Thursday, telling reporters that Kiev will receive an unspecified number of Bradley fighting vehicles, as well as training and maintenance support for the armored troop carriers. It is obviously an armored capability that can transport mechanized infantry into battle support of both offensive and defensive operations, providing a level of firepower and armor that will bring advantages on the battlefield, Ryder said, adding, "It's not a tank, but it's a tank killer." At least that's what they're telling them. The weapons package will include up to 50 Bradleys and other gear, according to two unnamed officials cited by Reuters, which noted that more details would come on Friday. Ryder declined to offer a time frame for when the vehicles might reach the battlefield, nor how long it would take to train local soldiers to use them, though Washington has approved more than $21 billion in direct military aid since the conflict in Ukraine kicked off last February. It is unclear how much of that weaponry has arrived to the country or is actually in service due to lengthy delivery schedules. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to get the hell out of here before they can come up with some more news for me to tell you about. And, well, it may not stop the news from happening, but it'll allow me to go to bed. So, anyway, just hang in there. Thank the Father for each day that He gives you, that you can continue to get ready in any way that you can continue to get ready, even if that's learning how to do new things. And I know I emphasize that a lot, but there's a reason I do. Man, YouTube and other platforms are incredible for learning how to do things. And while you've got that opportunity, I would be using it. Especially, it's not like we can afford to just go out and buy a bunch of stuff all the time. But what I can do is not mess that up. What I can do, not hit the wrong button. What I can do is learn and continue learning about different skills that I have, and I do. That's what I do. I try to keep up on new information coming out on all the different stuff that I try to, stay active with doing. So a lot of it, I just want to know how to repair things. I want to be able to repair things, keep things going, and possibly build, create, engineer things when needed as well. So I think that's going to be one of the most important skills to have. So being somebody that can just keep things going. So anyway, I am going to get out of here. God willing, we'll be back on Sunday. Hope to see you then. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.